Hey, Zach, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to it.
I've got some good questions, or at least I like to think they are, to ask you today. And I want to start because I am curious. Why did you decide to join the Navy?
I decided to join the Navy. It actually started with an internship at another job. I was working a commercial construction internship in Austin, Texas. And I was like on month 6 or 7 and actually really enjoying it, building a 42-story building that's obviously still there. But I remember being like, I don't want to, this is not the job I want. I'm a little scared of the picket fence right now. This is too normal for me. I don't exactly want to be like the people I'm working with. So I remember getting like a list of things and writing down like things I wanted to do when I was a kid. And I don't remember all the things, like 5, 10 things I wrote, but I remember like pilot, Navy SEAL, and firefighter. 2 months later, when I got back to college in College Station, Texas, I went to an enlisted Marine Corps recruiter and then ended up at a Marine Corps and Navy officer recruiter. And I just wanted to do something adventurous, fly, and put the applications in, and kind of the rest is history.
So, what do you ultimately do now in the Navy?
60 Romeo helicopter pilot. After going to flight training and selecting helicopters, I've been a naval aviator. I've done different flying and non-flying jobs, but I'm a helicopter pilot in the Navy.
That's interesting. Those three things that you listed are like hard jobs. I mean, obviously, SEAL training would be top there on the list. I don't know, but firefighter is very difficult. Like, that's like a lot of emergency response. So, it seems like you were up for a challenge.
Yeah, I just wanted something different. I remember thinking like I am just not ready to settle down and do what everyone else is doing after like just staying in Texas, maybe moving to the suburbs, getting a kid or two. And I was just a little like fearful of that normalcy and just wanted to do a little bit, just something more adventurous in my 20s because I didn't know much because I didn't come from a military family, but I knew it was a 10-year contract. So I'm like, for my 20s, I'm just going to do this thing.
Is that what it is? It's a 10-year contract for you?
8 years after your flight training, and flight training is give or take 2 years. So you're basically signing for 10 years of your life. Yep.
Yes. Okay, so um, you become a helicopter pilot. You had a near-death experience. Well, I mean, you're still on active duty, but if you don't mind sharing, like, what happened?
You want the long story or the short story? I'm just
I
joking.
don't know. We'll take the medium one, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get medium. In October 2018, I was flying. Actually, it was the first flight of that day. So like 5 a.m. brief time, I think around a 7, 8 a.m. lift. And I was only probably in that squadron for about 5 months. And so I basically, the preceding 8, 9 months, I'd been learning to fly this aircraft. My first time flying an operational aircraft besides a training aircraft. Then I checked into the squadron in April of 2018 and had been flying as one of the more junior guys there. And that day, or about a week or two before, I just basically got a new qualification where I was rated like helicopter second pilot, basically a co-pilot. And I was actually flying with my commanding officer, the most senior aviator in that squadron that day. And bottom line, as soon as we lifted up from the aircraft carrier, did our power checks and slid backwards, we were on the very like aft or back spot of the aircraft carrier. As soon as we went from about like 20 feet away, 10 to 20 feet away from the deck to over the ocean, and we're about 100 feet from the water, the power requirement, the rotors, the aircraft has to work harder to keep you at the same altitude. As soon as that happened, we initiated a slight pedal turn to the left to then begin takeoff basically on the left part of the ship or port, for those Navy folks. When that happened, though, our aircraft did not have the juice, if you will. We found out later that there was basically like coking in the fuel injectors that prevented enough fuel to go in the combustion chamber. Therefore, the combustion chamber didn't get hot enough. Won't bore you with the temperatures, but then
I'm sure somebody listening is like, I do want to know the temperature. It's a military audience.
the number one engine went to 823 degrees Celsius. The number two engine went to 863 degrees Celsius. The contingency power limiter, it's supposed to go up to 891 degrees Celsius plus or minus 10. So we did not get enough heat in the combustion chamber on the number one or the number two engine. And then we were basically in a loss of tail rotor authority situation. So as soon as I was actually the non-flying pilot, I verbalized NR. To be honest, frankly, maybe didn't know it in that moment, but later after the safety investigation came out, I was late in that call, so I should have basically done a better job at
What's NR?
NR is the rotation of the rotor head, the speed of the main rotor blades.
Okay, so it means like
Those
it's not going.
supposed to be at 100% speed, and it went down to 91%, which is not where you want it.
Yeah.
So I verbalized that, albeit late. The flying pilot then started like making a forward input to, we're probably like 30 feet maybe from the deck, already in a slight pedal turn. Flying pilot put in like inputs with the cyclic and a little bit lower collective to start going back towards the aircraft carrier, because we were not over the aircraft carrier. When that happened, we started like, we hadn't really descended yet. We were just turned to the left. When that happened, we just started rotating, because basically the tail rotor wasn't able to provide enough counter torque. And so we started spinning to the right, and we're like coming to the carrier and spinning to the right. And anytime you land with a spin, like this son of a gun's gonna roll. So we hit with our left side and we just kept rolling, and then spun basically 180 degrees. We made the aircraft carrier by about 30 feet, 20 to 30 feet. It depends on it was really, really uncomfortable. Like there's a round down on aircraft carrier for the fixed wing guys. We were just like probably 10 feet beyond the round down. And then as soon as that happens, everyone that's on the flight deck that just helped us take off, the landing signalman, enlisted, and all the safety personnel, they're running for their lives because we're spinning and coming back. You know, there's camera footage of it, but everyone's running for their lives. And as soon as the aircraft tilts over, the outer half of the blades, as soon as they contact the deck, just spray at anything nearby, or several F-18s nearby, several human beings nearby. So, like 9 people got injured at least.
Oh wow.
It was crazy, and it was probably like from the point where I called NR to being back on the deck, what's like 6 seconds. And so it was extremely quick, and we landed, and the tail rotor drive shaft actually, like, the tail rotor was spinning at a different speed than the main rotor. Like they basically like broke. We turned the engines off, but at that point it didn't really matter necessarily, because everything is basically just the main rotor head had already shredded and shrapnel had gone everywhere. My point was, it happened so quickly. That was probably the point in time in my life where it was like, feels like the movies where like the grenade went off and like there's like a high pitched noise and you're looking around and everything's slow motion. I mean, get out of the helicopter and there's like the white AAA firefighting foam. There's like people yelling and pointing, and I'm just like, this has got to be a dream. I do not know what's going on. And then obviously everything I told you now was several months later we figured out. But in that moment, I was just like, this is not real.
Yes, that's wild too that you were with the most senior pilot, which is kind of really great because if it, so is it? Please forgive my ignorance on helicopters, but so there's a pilot, there's a co-pilot, and you said you're the non-flying, or is it just the pilot and a non-flying?
So we both can fly throughout the entire flight, but at that period of time, there's a pilot at the controls and a pilot not at the controls.
Got it.
So that he was at the controls, his job was to fly, my job was to look at the instruments. And specifically, like when we go from a hover in ground effect to a hover out of ground effect, or whatever the situation is, in that moment, my job was to look at the instruments and make sure engine instruments, NR, other engine instruments, transmission instruments, temperatures, oil pressures, those are basically in the green or in their correct ranges. And if not, then I need to verbalize it, which I did, but I should have done a better job in hindsight.
This might be, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like if you know that there's going to be, I get like you just have lifted off the deck. You're not quite over the water, but you're starting to turn that way. If you know it's going south, I think of a human being in open water is very scary. But like also too, an aircraft hitting the deck with, like you said, I do have reference being Air Force, like just how many ground crew there are when a plane takes off. Just people that have given fuel and all the things that are around there. But wouldn't it be to like get away from the deck?
You mean like for the helicopter?
Yes, like if you think you're going to crash, like get over the water, or which again, I don't want you to go in the water, but I'm just like curious, like what is that the protocol? Like try to get back on deck?
So there's not necessarily a specific, a great answer for this, but we were probably, I mean, we were really, really close to the deck. We were not far. We just slid like, this is the deck. We came back here and then we rotated this way. So it was,
Oh, okay, that's a good visual. I'm sorry for people that are listening, but basically, like you're stepping back off the deck of the aircraft carrier if it was, a helicopter, and then you're starting to like turn to the left.
yep,
That
exactly.
makes sense.
And that
Okay.
entire time we were probably within 30 feet of the deck of the aircraft carrier. So it was basically we could have like put a bunch of right pedal and accepted a descent and then gone towards the water to see if we could have scooped it out or tried to land at the nearest emergency landing area, which is what the pilot of the controls decided to do.
Yes, I'm sure there. One, I can't believe they gave me the task, but when I was very young and enlisted, one of my jobs was to transcribe all the interviews of a helicopter crash that happened. I think at Fort Bragg. I don't remember which one it was or what or where it happened, but there was a lot. So I can't imagine all the interviews that you went through, like really like picking that apart. But in that moment, like what did you think? Like, what was the first thing that like popped to your mind? Because you have no idea how that's going to turn out.
In that moment when, basically I was, the helicopter was tilted this way, so to my left, and I was on the lower side, and the senior pilot was higher than me because we were tilted. In that moment when he's like yelling for the power control levers to be turned off, I was just like, this has got to be a dream. And the entire time I basically like the door's already open, but I basically unbuckle and slide out of the aircraft, and I'm walking past the AAA phone, 100 yards back to the ready room. I'm just like, what the bleep just happened? So I would just say like shock. It was like shock and denial. Like I'm in a dream. I don't know what happened. Please wake me up. That's all I could think for like a while, probably like a day or at least a couple hours. I just got back and sat down in the ready room. And of course, everyone's just doing their normal thing, eating popcorn, going to meals. Like in that case, obviously everyone already was watching the footage and knew that we crashed, but I just sat there and it was bizarre.
Did things change for you after that incident? Like you had just mentioned, like you were going into the Navy, like you're going to be a helicopter pilot, 10 years commitment. Like, did that change? You didn't want the white picket fence or yet. Did that change things for you?
Not immediately, as in, well, right away, like I just couldn't fly for 3 months until basically a separate like investigation took place to see if there was any legal or otherwise. And that process culminated with myself and the other pilot basically sitting in front of the three-star admiral in charge of naval aviation for him to basically decide if what is happening. Are we keeping our wings? Does he take our wings? We keep flying. So I kept my wings and I kept flying for another 2.5 years, and nothing changed right there. I wanted to get back in the airplane the next day. I had to wait a few months, the helicopter, I should say. So nothing changed immediately, but I would say it planted that and probably becoming a father. But that moment specifically planted a little bit of a oh crud moment for like how short life is. I don't think I needed a reminder, but I got one. And being married at the time and my wife going through, she got the whole knock on the door too. Like Zach's been on an accident. And then I think that moment just gave me a perspective on like just time and life that most 25-year-olds don't get. And so that took a while to process though, because it was months of processing, maybe even a couple of years. But it didn't change anything as far as I still wanted to fly, I still wanted to be in the Navy. But there was like I felt different about just life and time and success after just thinking about that over the next basically months and years.
In your bio, you talk about, that you had this, an incident like this happen to you. And then you mentioned that you started to look into a master's in soil science. Like you started to think about health and life and things like that. So first of all, what is soil science, and how does that like lead like to human health, which kind of leads to what you're doing in finance now?
So I would say 2 years after getting to that squadron, I would say maybe 2.5. On my third, I basically went on three like deployments. The third year of deploying, I was like basically I didn't know everything, but I am the one training people. I had kind of begun to be a master of the craft, if you will, gotten the advanced qualifications. And I was at that point like, okay, looking at the people ahead of me, do I want to be like them? Do I get fired up and passionate about doing the job that they're doing? And so that's where I was like, even though I'm doing these really awesome missions, these advanced like Navy tactical missions, or at least a part of these like pretty cool naval missions, I was like, I feel a little empty inside as far as like my purpose in the world. And my wife and I kind of together, even though we weren't together, started getting interested in like regenerative agriculture, chronic disease, and this is like in the 2019, 2020 timeframe. And we just started getting passionate about that. And so I developed on like listening to podcasts on the ship and reading some books, a passion for like, man, I don't know if I want to fly helicopters for the whole like a 20-year career, but I'm getting pretty jazzed and excited about chronic disease and how to like make improvements. And so you asked about soil science. One of the opportunities after was to go be an ROTC instructor and amongst fly different airplanes and be an instructor for students. And the number one thing I put on my list was a Virginia Tech NROTC instructor. They had a crop and soil science program I wanted to go study at. And it also just kind of gave me the time and space to like not be on a flight schedule and spend time with my wife and then our 6-month-old at the time. And so that's the answer to a couple of your questions. I think you also asked me about soil science. So soil science and human health aren't necessarily always studied together. What I wanted to do or what I started doing was study the soil science program and bring in a connection to how is the soil, specifically like pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, what are the downstream impacts on food and then the human health.
I love that. So now you are really interested in helping people align their health and wealth. So now you're in finance. Can you explain like what that, like let's say an ideal client where their health and wellness are perfectly aligned, what does that look like real life, day to day?
There's two ideal clients, and they're kind of on. One is like the person that already speaks my language. It's like a health nut, maybe like reads health longevity books, and has already gotten a few blood tests. So when I say like, "What's your ApoB, apolipoprotein B?" they already know the answer. Or like, if I've asked that's like one because they speak the same language, and that's fun. The other ideal client would be someone who's like always been like motivated or interested in health or like wants to make improvements, or just maybe something occurred in their life where they had a oh shoot moment where they're like, I need to start taking my health or something more seriously. Those people are fun to work with too, because then I get to like help and be in that like mentorship role and of like bringing them along the journey. Like, hey, I'm a third grader in this, and I want to be a sixth, seventh, eighth grader in this subject. And then what I'd like to do with either of those circumstances is to help them connect their health journey to their financial journey, which I think is the tricky part. And I can answer that next if you'd like.
So you're saying that you want, like, when you're talking about aligning health and wealth, you want people to be successful with their finances, but also be in good physical and mental health. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So how does that look like? Like you have to be a certain weight, or you have to, have certain scores on your blood tests. Like, what does that look like?
So that's a great question. I'm really excited to answer it. The easiest one way to describe it is to equate the health side to like a Monte Carlo analysis or a statistical likelihood. A Monte Carlo, for those most people have probably heard of it, but it's basically a random group of like a lot of simulations to come up with like an average statistic. We do that a lot for like retirement portfolios in the financial planning space. Your portfolio is X percentage, let's say it's 70% likely to succeed given the things you put in. What motivates me is to bring that same logic to the health side. And with modern tools, we can do that. So what do I mean? It's not unheard of, probably even likely for people to retire comfortably with whatever the dollar value is on a yearly basis or lump sum. And in the same spot, be in, if they measured it, which they probably don't, be statistically unlikely to make it as far as their money. Their money is going to outlive them. And with modern tools and what we know that human beings are most likely to die from after age 50, it's actually not that difficult to see where you are statistically and where your risk factors are. So I'll share one quick stat with you. 80% of people over age 50, this was a study from 2022, 80% of people over age 50 die from four things: cardiovascular disease or metabolic dysfunction, cancer, or neurodegenerative disease, Alzheimer's, and the like. So what if instead of being faced with that oh shoot moment in your 60s, 70s, what if in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you can establish what's my risk factor for those, maybe in like percentile, and how do I start making positive habits to reduce that or improve?
Okay.
That's how I see it. So I see is like if we're talking about growing money over a long period of time, one of the first questions that comes up in my head is, are you going to make it that far? Number one. And are you living the life with the strength, energy, and flexibility and focus now, but during that, like along with that life?
Okay, so having a lot of outcomes with money, that Monte Carlo, that's what you're doing. You're putting in all of these possibilities, but you're saying do that as well with your health. Like, what are all the possibilities if you are, exercising 5 days a week and eating right or not? Like, you're putting in all of this information. So to see where those possibilities line up, one with your money, but also with your health. Because you're really trying to figure out, like, are you going to be Jeff Bezos here with, a ton of money? And clearly this guy's gotten in shape. Or you're basically going to have a heart attack, a widowmaker when you're, 45. And even if you had a ton of money. So really so I get what you're saying there. What do you say to people who are currently, because I see this, it's like, especially like people like, well, I'm in the fire movement or I'm like building all this wealth and I got all this stuff, but like they're eating very poorly or they are highly stressed out. They are, their mental state, like they're not coping with stress very well. What do you say to the people that are ignoring their health, but they have lots of money?
Live well now, plan wisely for later. That is what's on the homepage of my website. And it's a few simple words, but I think there's human beings, we go through seasons and there's either side to this argument, and you just talked about one of them. But I think for most of us, if we were honest with ourselves, it's the balance between the person who saves to, as Dave Ramsey says, live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later. There's a balance to that, though, because like you just said, if you're living like a vagabond now or very, very frugal and sacrificing too much now, what happens if it goes away, number one? And number two, why you're like almost too focused on the future. And oh, by the way, I'm like a recovering person. Like that's what I struggle with. My number one struggle is to be future focused. And my wife really helps me bring into the present. And so I've been there in that personality. And I started, like, one of the reasons I started this financial planning firm is to like encourage and help other millennials that were like heard that fire content when I was in my 20s, and to like temper that with like, I see myself as helping people spend money on their health, on food, on things that are important to them, whether it's travel or whatever with their family. I see myself as helping people spend their money now and growing money for later, so you can strike a balance between like quality of life now and planning for the future.
Yes, because I see people that will be like, well, hey, I could get this free food. It's breadsticks and it's chicken strips, fried chicken strips, and it's free. So then I can do this very frequently, or like go get like cheap wings, and that will be my dinner. And I'll save this money for the future. But it's like, man, that's probably not really good for you. And especially if you're doing it all the time, when you get to that frugality, like extreme part. I get you want to get extreme because you want to save all this money, but it's just like starving yourself. Yeah, you can cut weight, but you are probably going to really overeat later. So there's like this, there's benefit, like to get one benefit, you're giving up, there's opportunity cost. But what do you say to people? It's like, hey, like I really want to get out of debt, but like, for example, there's this always discussion I've had as a financial coach, like, well, I want to eat right. So that means I need to get all of my groceries at Whole Foods. Okay, so yes, you're living great depending on what you're getting at Whole Foods. I just like to throw that out there. But or it's like I only get the best cuts of beef that are grass-fed, locally, raised, all this stuff, but like right there, I mean, that's hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. Like what do you tell people about how they can have, the lifestyle they want in the future, but also have really great health now?
Health is tough because there's so many narratives and there's fads, like the fads now are different than what they were 2 years ago and et cetera, et cetera.
Like
So
Ozempic, like that's another thing. Like people are spending a boatload of money on it. Yes, you're losing weight. So yes, especially if you're, pre-diabetic or, so overweight, it's putting, damaging your knees or something like that. So again, like a lot of money, but could help you out long term.
right. Yeah, it's really easy to spend a bunch of your money on a variety of this stuff, whether it's a Whole Foods trip. I actually just picked up a grass-fed, grass-finished beef from 2 hours away. Really easy to spend a whole bunch of money on a half cow, buy the deep freezer, put it in there. We all have to like choose what we spend money on. But here's like what I love about this conversation. With modern tools, and I can plug a book later, it is it's much more simple to actually figure out what you should focus on and then focus on it. It's like the outside world on social media. It's like, I should be getting under this calories, or I should be exercising for this amount of time, or this zone of my cardio, or this type of food is bad, this type of food is good. It's easy. It's more, in some ways, more difficult than ever, but it's actually more simpler than ever to focus on those 4 risk factors that I talked about, and then drive down your risk for those 4 things. That is like, after you do that, then we can get like cute, if you will, or advance with, I spend extra money on this or that. But if you're making insert decision number 1, if you're making decision number 1 and you don't know your likelihood, actually, like your legitimate likelihood, your ApoB, your blood pressure for cardiovascular disease, my question to you is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And because
I
just like a financial planner, if you go to a financial plan, you're like, I have this grand dream, but you have like $200,000 in your retirement account and you're 50 years old. It's like, well, what are you talking about? So I'm a really big proponent of measuring it and then driving that down. It's a little bit more like black and white as a financial like advisor would be.
So you really, like when you're talking one-on-one with clients, you're really talking about their health as well. Like what are what actions are you taking there? Like how are you budgeting there?
So I definitely don't get into the healthcare practitioner, I definitely don't get it. I don't even venture into that realm at all, but I absolutely talk like education, resources, like the first 5 pages of my financial plans. Yeah, basically 4 to 5 pages is like a couple stats on why this matters. And then here a variety of tests. I get all that information from 2 different books. And then I encourage my clients to pursue that either on their own or with a provider. So I don't see myself as like, hey, what is your insert score? But I do see myself as like educating them to get smart on that, because ultimately all this financial planning discussions we're having, it's because people care about their time and their health. That's why, or the people around them. That's why that's why you even hire a financial planner to begin with.
Yes.
So I see it as like, I don't think I would really consider myself very successful if I didn't have those kinds of conversations with people and didn't get to like talk about why it all matters anyways.
Yes, I get what you're saying, that it's just kind of like teaching people be mindful of your spending. Like you need to be mindful of this. This is an important component of your financial future. Because the other part of that is like it's going to cost you a boatload of money if you do have diabetes. All the things that come with that, trying to take care of it, manage it, or any other illness that comes from you not taking care of your health. So I get what you're saying. You are bringing awareness to like being mindful of it.
Right.
Because I always say this, like when I travel or whatever, I will pay 3 times the amount of money for a meal if I know that it's going to keep me on track and it's going to be healthy. Like if it's, cheap and it's going to hurt me, my goals with my health and what I'm eating, my weight, those type of things. It's like, no, like I budgeted for this. I'm cool with, I cook at home a lot. And so I know it's yin and yang. Like, yes, I'm getting ready to spend a boatload of money on this meal, but I know when I get home, like I shop when things are on sale. I don't eat out a lot. So it's like, really, what do you truly want? Like putting your money where your mouth is.
Exactly.
What is something that you wish more service members did or would stop doing with their money?
Ooh, okay. More service members did or stopped doing with their money. That's a good one. What would I say with this?
That's my favorite part when guests say, like, that's a good one. Because I was trying hard, Zach, so I'm glad you noticed. I did want to come up with a good question.
I'd say all right, I'm gonna go ahead and say spending money on takeout or like as in like Uber Eats type thing and paying the delivery fee, even though you think you're saving money with the Amex Platinum, or like excess purchases like spending money at the bar, not even alcohol, just paying the premium at the bar. Just it's not even that you drink; it's that you're drinking the really expensive stuff and you're probably not making that much money. So probably like. Pretending. Yeah, listen. You get paid off a chart. No matter if you're an officer enlisted, you get paid off a chart. So like, all of the takeout and the extra dollars that are associated with that, or paying premium for the middle or top shelf alcohol at the bar. Like what are you doing?
It's so funny you say that because I coach that all the time. It's young service members that are of age. It's like, if you want to have a, drink, like top shelf first or second drink. After that, no way. Like you're not going to taste the difference. Like, so just stop. Like move to beer. Like, just be smart about like if you'd like to, because when you're young, like you want to go out and meet people, go to bars, hang out responsibly. But it's like you can't have a blank check for that. So I wholeheartedly agree with that statement there. Especially, I always say like which person are you in the dorms or the barracks? Are you the person that's buying the pizza or are you the person showing up and eating the pizza? Like, don't be that person that's buying everybody pizza.
Yep. Here's as you were talking, I actually think I developed a better answer.
Okay, go for it.
Even if you follow my advice and you're like, cool, I'm not going to buy, all right, Zach, I'm not going to buy the top shelf liquor. They're going to spend their money on something else. So it's actually less about the money they spent the money on and more about creating a habit to invest their money for their future self. If you can just create a $200 a month, $400 a month, $600 a month habit to invest in a brokerage account, a retirement account, something, then for whether it's 2 years down the road or just savings or down payment on a home or vacation, something for your future self instead of, if that doesn't happen, here's what does happen. You're like when I was on deployment last year, you have a couple $1,000s in your checking account, and when Corporal so-and-so, we were out in Tokyo, sees a nice watch, he buys a watch and sends it to his family member, and it's like, I'm sure that family member really appreciated it, but you like don't even have that temptation, if you will, to like spend way too much money on something if that money was like already there reserved for future you.
For anybody listening that is like, man, I need to work on getting my health aligned with my wealth, what's a good first step for them?
I'd say to read the book Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia.
I had a sneaking suspicion that was coming, Zach. Yes, no, I've heard that. I have not read it, but I've had a lot of family members read it. And I believe some other people have recommended it on this show. So, okay, they got to get schooled up on that.
Yeah, That's a really good first step. I think he does a great job at cutting through the fads and the opinions of carnivore, vegetarian, or insert diet argument or exercise argument, strength versus cardio. He does a good job of cutting through what actually matters, and I think everyone could benefit that because health is such a confusing topic.
Okay, I do have, I think, on my shelf. That might be something over the holidays I will read. So
Yeah, audiobook or the old fashioned.
yeah, I'm old fashioned all the way when it comes to. I keep a couple of books on my like so I can read on my phone, like during takeoff and landing, which is the time where you like make me put my laptop away. So, or just not having a huge book to carry around when I travel. So that is a very large book too. So it's not a roadie. Not a roadie book.
A very large book.
Yes. So, okay. Well, I'll be sure to link to that in the show notes for everybody. I want to switch gears now and ask you a couple of quick random questions I ask everybody. First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life or your work easier?
This is a very new tool, recently started. It's called Brick. It's a little hardware device about, I don't know, an inch by inch. It's a square. And I tap my phone to it, and I can basically disallow certain applications on my phone, basically like the social or messaging ones. So if I tap it, then my phone cannot use those apps until I come tap it again. So I'll just tap it and take my phone somewhere else. And if I want to like check a message, I just can't.
Ooh, I like that. That's
So it's like
yeah. Go ahead.
do not disturb on steroids.
I love that more and more. Like I don't have some social media apps on my phone at all. I just won't, especially like Facebook. People are like, did you get my message? I'm like, nope, I haven't got on my desktop. So, but I will leave my phone in like a different room in order to like focus, especially like if my kids are home, I don't really need to be on hand, like in case they need me or something like that. I've definitely put that away, but I love that. I'll be sure to link to that in the show notes for everybody. Okay, you've already mentioned one, but what's your favorite book right now or your favorite book of all time?
My favorite book right now that I recently gifted several folks and that I really like is called Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller.
Oh, I have not heard of that one.
He gets a lot of influence from The Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl,
Oh, okay, yeah.
which was written like 70 years ago or so, I think. But the main premise is the main premise is to not be a victim of your story and to move just like a movie arc would, a narrative was to move from victim to hero and then to guide or mentor. And so to get yourself out of a rut, and he talks about a personal rut he was in, how he viewed himself, his like life as like cinema, as a story. And he basically just made a better character in his story that went from the victim to a hero and then making other heroes.
Ooh, I haven't heard. I'll be sure to link to that in the show notes for everybody. That sounds like a really good one. And now I'm torn because I've set this new rule for myself that I cannot buy another book until I finish a book. So it is an incentive. I'm reading, what is it? Oh, dang it. It's a Ben Franklin book. But when I finish that, I'll probably be ordering that one for myself for Christmas. So
And
thank you.
it's a quick read, and I highly recommend it.
Oh, okay, that's even better. So I can stay on my reading list. So okay, well I'll be sure to link to that in the show notes for everybody. Now it is time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. And in honor of your visit, we're going to be playing a brand new game, brand new. So breaking news, we're going to be playing a game called Am I Lying? All right. So let me explain. I am going to give you 5 things, and you have to guess if it's a truth or a lie. So it's real basic. So are you ready for this, Zach?
I'm so ready.
Okay. So if you get 3 out of the 5 correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show, which is a huge, huge honor.
I cannot wait to brag.
Yes. You can flex up on everybody at work. Okay. Number 1. At basic training, I missed honor graduate by 1 point. Is that a truth or a lie?
True.
It is. It goes back to my trouble with standardized tests. I missed the standardized test by 1 point. Okay. All my other stuff, I passed with flying colors. Okay. Number 2, I speak fluent Japanese.
You are lying. You do not speak fluent Japanese.
That is correct. I wish I did. Actually, when I was in Japan, I mean, me and Google Translate were best friends. Like that was actually that's a lie too. I totally leaned on my sister and made her do everything for me. So,
So I lived like an hour from where your sister is. I've flown into that airport before. We lived in Japan for 3 years.
oh really? Yes,
Yeah, but so I've like met you in person. Like when we talked, you did not sound like you even close to that. So.
no, I do wish though because I plan on going back. I love Japan so much. I will definitely be going back there. The best food night I ever had was like an all you could eat seafood place in Tokyo, and I mean, I'll have to show you the pictures one time. It was the best night
Yeah,
ever.
I'd
So.
love to know the name.
Okay, yes, I have it somewhere. I don't have it off the top of my head, but okay, number three. So you got 2 for 2. Number three, one of my favorite movies is National Treasure.
That is correct.
It's true. I probably wish it was a lie, but I do love that movie. It never gets old. Never gets old. Okay, number 4. I am an only child.
That is, you are lying. You are not an only child.
I thought I was gonna
You
give you
also
an
said your sister. I think I met your sister, but you also said,
yes.
I think you referenced
I'm
your
horrible
sister.
at this game. Horrible. Okay. Number 5. I hate Brussels sprouts.
I think that's true.
No, it's not. I love Brussels sprouts. They're my favorite. So you did not have a winning streak, but you did really well. You definitely have bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show and a new game at that. So that's extra bragging rights.
I'm
So
telling my mom.
yes, please do, please do. I really appreciate you playing the game and being on the show. Can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and the work you're doing?
Sure. Feel free to go to my website, outlivefinancial.com. You can learn anything you want about the financial planning firm I have, or LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm probably most social on Instagram, other social media sites as well.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I will be sure to put links to all of that in the show notes. Thank you again, Zach. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.